quarterbacks 1 to 32? Do you rank offensive coordinators 1 to 32? Do you rank quarterback coaches 1 to 32? Well, what if you have the 32nd ranked coordinator in someone's mind, or the 32nd ranked quarterback coach? How is he getting a level of development?
When I first heard what Tom Brady said, I almost couldn't believe it. The GOAT himself, the face of NFL discipline, the master of preparation, just came out and basically accused the Cleveland Browns of sabotaging Shedeur Sanders. Yeah, you heard that right. Tom Brady, talking about the Browns, talking about Shedeur, and saying out loud what so many of us have been whispering for weeks now, that maybe Cleveland doesn't know how to build a quarterback, that maybe they never did, and the craziest part, he didn't even have to say their name. He just dropped one line, one sentence, and the entire football world instantly turned its head toward Cleveland. Because in that interview with Colin Cowherd, Brady wasn't ranting, he wasn't being controversial. He was just speaking truth. He said, "There are a lot of people in this league who have no idea what they're doing when they're tasked with coaching a quarterback." That's all it took. One sentence. And within minutes, fans started connecting the dots. People started asking, wait a minute, is he talking about Shedeur Sanders? Is he talking about the Browns? Because let's be honest, if Brady's right, then Shedeur was never given a fair shot. He was thrown into chaos, blamed for the results, and left to sink on his own. And the deeper you look, the more it feels like Brady's exposing something that's been festering inside that building for years. Let's build a totem pole together, like subscribe and comment. If this video gets 1,000 likes, we'll be making our voices heard by the coaches for Shedeur to be the starting QB1. Let's do it. See, the local Cleveland media, they've been hammering this kid non-stop. He's entitled. He's distracted. Huh? He's developing too slow. He can't learn the playbook. I've seen those headlines every week, but what if I told you?
Tired of boring phone cases? Here's your chance. My Etsy shop is packed with exclusive designs that let you show off your team pride in style. And the best part? You'll unlock discounts when you hit favorite, more savings when you add to cart, and even surprise discounts on your second purchase. Don't wait. Click the link in the description and grab your favorite now.
None of that actually has anything to do with football. What if this goes way deeper than anyone's willing to admit? Because let's face it, this is the same organization that's been cycling through quarterback development projects for 2 decades, and somehow, none of them ever develop. Why is that? Is it bad luck, bad timing, or is it something else? Something broken at the core. Now, when Brady dropped that quote on the herd, you could see Cowherd's face. He knew it was big. But I don't think even he realized just how much that one sentence would shake the NFL. Because by the end of that day, Brady exposes. The Browns was trending everywhere. Twitter, ESPN, Reddit, you name it. Analysts were posting clips of Shedeur on the sideline during drills, just watching, not participating, not getting first-team reps. And suddenly, the entire internet was asking, why? And then came the part that made it all worse. The reports that Shedeur had barely taken any first-team snaps before being thrown into live action. 11 practices, working mostly against the third unit, barely any chemistry with the starters. And then they toss him into the fire and tell him to prove himself. That's not development. That's sabotage dressed up as competition. And you know what? Brady saw right through it. Because he's lived it. He knows what it's like to be underestimated, to have to earn every single rep. But he also knows what real coaching looks like. He had structure. He had teachers. He had accountability. He had Belichick, a man obsessed with details. Shedeur? He's been surrounded by chaos, by mixed messages, by people who say, we're developing him, but don't actually show it. Let's talk about that coaching chaos for a second. You've got a staff that doesn't seem to know what it wants. One coach says, "We're building." Another says, "We're evaluating." And meanwhile, Shedeur's just stuck in the middle of all that noise, trying to figure out where he even fits. And then you get to the moment that made everyone's jaw drop. When team owner Jimmy Haslam literally admitted he didn't even know Shedeur Sanders had been signed. Let that sink in. The owner of the Cleveland Browns, a man worth billions, running a franchise in one of the toughest divisions in football, didn't even know they brought in one of the most talked about young quarterbacks in the country. That's not miscommunication. That's dysfunction. That's what happens when there's no leadership at the top. And Brady, he wasn't just talking about that. He was talking about a culture that rewards coaches with excuses but blames players for everything. He said it perfectly. Everyone ranks quarterbacks 1 to 32. But what if your coach is ranked 32nd? And that hit me hard, because he's absolutely right. We spend so much time dissecting quarterbacks. Every throw, every read, every interception. But we never hold coaches to that same standard. If a quarterback misses a read, it's national news. If a coach calls the wrong play, it's part of the process. That's the double standard Brady was calling out. And Cleveland, they're the perfect example. Every single season, it's the same story. New head coach, new coordinator, new system, new promises. Same disaster. It's like hitting the reset button every year and calling it development. It's not development. It's dysfunction with better PR. The moment Brady spoke, it was like pulling the curtain back on the entire operation. Suddenly, people started looking at the Browns differently. Every little thing, from Shedeur's reps in practice to the weird press availability choices, all of it started to look suspicious. Why was the third-string quarterback talking? To the media after a loss? Why wasn't he getting first-team reps if he was supposedly the future? Why did the owner sound like he barely knew he existed? And then Stephen A. Smith came in. And when Stephen A. starts talking, the story goes nuclear. He called it what it was: entrapment. Said the Browns didn't give Shedeur a fair chance to succeed. They gave him a setup to fail. And then Louis Riddick, one of the most respected analysts in the game, backed it up with real data, reps, coaching structure, the whole thing. Suddenly, this wasn't just talk. It was evidence. And that's when the narrative flipped. For once, the conversation wasn't, is the player the problem? It was, is the system the problem? Because if a franchise keeps developing quarterbacks who never develop, maybe, just maybe, the problem isn't the quarterbacks. Maybe it's the franchise. And that's what Tom Brady was trying to tell us. That's what he meant when he said, some teams just don't know what they're doing when it comes to coaching quarterbacks. It wasn't shade. It was truth. He knows how fragile a young quarterback's career really is. He was one play away from being forgotten, one bad system away from being labeled a bust. The only reason we know Tom Brady as the GOAT is because he had the right people around him, people who believed in development, people who built him, piece by piece, into who he became. Now imagine if Brady had landed in Cleveland instead of New England. Does he even get a chance to start? Does he even get a chance to grow? Probably not, because the Browns have turned quarterback controversy into a yearly tradition. It's like they can't help themselves. And that's why this whole thing hits different. Because Brady wasn't just defending Shedeur Sanders. He was defending every young quarterback who walks into a broken system and gets blamed for its failures. This isn't a Shedeur problem. It's not a Browns problem. It's an NFL problem. Every year, the league drafts these insanely talented kids, full of potential. And half of them disappear within 2 seasons. Not because they can't play, but because the system around them never gave them a chance to become who they could have been. Brady just said what everyone inside locker rooms has been saying for years. The NFL doesn't have a player development problem. It has a coaching problem. Coaches who get recycled year after year. Coaches who hide behind buzzwords like evaluation and process. Coaches who talk about accountability but never actually live it. And if we're being honest, the Browns are Exhibit A. So yeah, maybe this time it's not the rookie who needs to be developed. Maybe it's the people holding the clipboards. Because if the GOAT is standing on national TV saying the system is broken, you don't shrug that off. You listen. You look at your organization and you ask, are we building players or are we breaking them? And that's what I keep coming back to with Shedeur. He didn't ask for a controversy. He didn't ask to be a headline. He just wanted a real shot to prove what he can do. But in Cleveland, that's starting to feel like the hardest thing to get. A fair shot. Maybe that's why Brady spoke up. Not to stir drama, not to chase headlines, but to tell the truth. Because when a legend like him speaks, he's not protecting one player. He's warning an entire generation. And maybe, just maybe, that's the wake-up call this league finally needed. The offense? Completely lost. We couldn't even find the end zone. Not once. 3 field goals from Andre Schmidt, the only guy who showed up ready to do his job, were all we had to show for it. When your kicker is the only consistent bright spot on a Sunday afternoon, you know something's seriously wrong. That's 3 straight losses now, and this one stings even deeper because the signs of frustration are starting to show. You can feel the ground trembling in Berea. Something's shifting, and I'll be real with you. If this continues, we might start seeing some big changes in that building. The reality is simple. This team hasn't scored 20 points in weeks. That's not just bad. That's dangerous territory in today's NFL. You can't survive being that inefficient. Since that debacle against Denver, when Jameis Winston and Jerry Jeudy lit us up, the offense has been lifeless. And I mean completely lifeless. We're talking about a unit that looks like it's running in slow motion while the rest of the league is flying past. And I want you guys to really think about this. How does a team with this much talent, this much expectation, fall this flat offensively? If you've been following me here for a while, you know this community isn't just about reactions. It's about analysis, about emotion, about feeling what this fan base feels week after week. So do me a favor, drop a comment. Tell me what you think the real problem is. Is it the playbook, the quarterback, the execution? Because from where I'm sitting, it feels like a combination of all 3. But I want to hear it from you. Now, let's walk through what actually happened in that game. Because honestly, it started out about as sluggish as you could imagine. The first quarter was a total snooze fest. The Steelers went up 3-0, both teams struggled to move the ball, and it was clear early on that this was going to be one of those grinded-out defensive slugfests. Credit to the Browns' defense. They kept us in it. They gave us every chance. They did their job. But the offense? It looked like a car stuck in the mud. Every drive stalled, every rhythm broken, and the energy on the sideline just felt off. Even Browns Wire said it perfectly. The Browns make a fence look like a fence. That's rough, but it's true. Then right before halftime, we got that small glimmer of hope. Dylan Gabriel put together a solid 2-minute drive, showed some composure, got us into field goal range, and Andre Schmidt nailed it to make it 9-3 going into halftime. And for a second there, I thought, all right, maybe this is the turning point. Maybe we're about to see some life. But man, that third quarter hit like a hammer. Aaron Rodgers, say what you want about him, but the guy still reads defenses like a chess master. He picked apart our secondary, manipulated the snap, and hit Connor Hayward for a touchdown. Suddenly it's 16-3, and that little spark we had before halftime just vanished. And here's the part that kills me. That touchdown came off a dumb running into the kicker penalty. A totally preventable, self-inflicted mistake. That's been the story of this team all year. We make the small mistakes that turn into big disasters. even when we showed some fight. A promising drive that could have shifted momentum. Harold Fannin Jr. dropped a crucial pass. And look, I get it, it's football. Drops happen. But it's those moments that define games, especially when your offense is already struggling. Schmidt came through again with another field goal. Made it 16-6, but the energy just wasn't there. Then in the fourth quarter, Rodgers found DK Metcalf on a deep shot. And that was the dagger. Tyson Campbell, our new quarterback, tried to respond, but just couldn't keep up. The Steelers fans in Acrisure Stadium were roaring, waving those yellow towels, and by that point, it was over. 23-9. Another painful entry in a growing list of them this season. When you looked at Kevin Stefanski on that sideline, that expression said everything. Frustration, confusion, exhaustion. The man looked like someone trying to solve a puzzle that keeps changing pieces mid-game. And honestly, I can't blame him. Because right now, this offense has no identity. Early September, there was promise. There was rhythm. There was belief. Now, it's just chaos. And that silence in Berea after the game. You could almost feel it through the screen. That wasn't just disappointment. That was a team searching for answers. Now here's where things get serious. Stefanski's seat. It's warming up. I've seen this movie before. And I know how it ends if the offense doesn't turn things around fast. Brown's Wire even said it. At some point, the push becomes a shove. And that shove might be coming sooner than anyone expects. Because when a team with this much talent fails to score touchdowns for multiple games in a row, heads start to roll. Injuries haven't helped either. Mike Hall Jr. is still out. That's 6 games now, and we're really missing him up the middle on defense. Tyson Campbell made his debut, but got picked on by Rodgers. And let's not forget the long inactive list. Cornelius Lucas, Zach Zinter, Rayheim Sanders, Thayer Munford, Jarek Bernard Converse, all sidelined. But you look across the field, and the Steelers were dealing with absences too. Calvin Austin III, Chuck Clark, Andres Pete, DeMarvin Leal. Yet they still found a way to win. That's the difference between a team that's built to handle adversity and one that's still trying to figure itself out. And if we're being honest, this didn't come out of nowhere. The signs were there from week 1. We lost to the Bengals 17-16. Then got absolutely crushed by Baltimore 41-7. Our only win came against the Packers 13-10, and even that felt like a struggle. Then we dropped games to Detroit 34-10 and Minnesota 21-7 in London. Now Pittsburgh. 1 win, 5 losses. The pattern is clear. And it's not good. Next week we've got the Miami Dolphins at home, and I don't even need to tell you how crucial that game is. That's not just another matchup. That's the kind of game that could decide the direction of this entire season. And maybe even Stefanski's job. If we lose that one, the noise will get deafening. Still, I don't want to close this out without at least acknowledging the positives, because there are a few glimmers of hope. Andre Schmidt has been steady. Dylan Gabriel is showing signs of settling into the pocket more confidently. The defense, while inconsistent, still fights every snap. There's heart on this team. It just hasn't found its form yet. So I'll throw it back to you. What do you think? Can the Browns still bounce back? Or is it time to hit that panic button and make drastic changes? Because right now, we're standing at a crossroads. One path leads to redemption, the other to another lost season. Drop your thoughts down below. Hit that like button if you still believe in this team. And subscribe, because we're going to ride this roller coaster together. Every high, every low, every heartbreak, and every hope. Because being a Browns fan isn't about easy wins. It's about loyalty, passion, and that stubborn belief that one day it'll all be worth it. This is Cleveland Browns football. Painful, intense, but always, always full of love.